Welcome to another episode of Indiana Politics. I'm Deb Chubb, and today I am very pleased to introduce Haneefah Khaaliq.
Hello.
She is running for U.S. Senate in 2022. So far is, I think, the only candidate filed on the Democratic ticket to oppose the current U.S. Senator Todd Young. So Haneefah, I am just so excited to meet you, and of course, very excited that you're running. So I want you to just tell us about yourself. Where are you from? Why did you decide to run for U.S. Senate? And then tell us about your platform.
Absolutely, Deb. Well, first of all, Deb, I want to thank you so much for having me here with you and talking with you. It's just a wonderful day in the neighborhood and a wonderful day to be sitting here with you. So yes, I am running for United States Senate here in Indiana, and I can't think of a better time to do it. It is so needed. When I was in the second year of my law school education at Valparaiso University School of Law here, in Valparaiso, Indiana, I noticed that we had two United States senators who were falling asleep on so many issues in the upper chamber of our Congress. And this is supposed to be a place of action. And I knew that I would start studying what they do and why they do it so that I could introduce myself and my plan, my legislation, my goals, which are so much better and so much more targeted than what we have before us today. And so I'm running on a platform of civil rights expansion, civil rights law expansion, quality education for all. I'm going to be fighting for livable wages. I'm going to be running on a platform of constant dialogue, communication, and conversation with Hoosiers, which is, this would be an example of that. Something that I intend to continue upon my election, because I think it's something that us Hoosiers have been deprived of for far too long.
Oh, that's great. So, and tell us, so are you from Gary? I know you're living in Gary now. Tell us what you do
Yes.
in Gary.
Yeah, so my parents moved to Northwest Indiana about more than 20 years ago now. And so I ended up graduating from Lake Central High School in St. John, Indiana. I went on to IUPUI, pursued an education degree, a degree in education, and I became a public school teacher. So I taught both domestically and abroad for a little bit just to see how that was. And I taught in charter schools and private schools as well. Before returning back to law school and pursuing my law degree. Now, when I became a law student, I knew that I was going into administrative law. I loved civil rights, I loved advocacy, and I knew that I wanted to pursue that. So when I graduated, I was appointed as the director for the Gary Human Relations Commission, which is the civil rights agency in Northwest Indiana. I'm also the city's ADA coordinator and also the Title VI coordinator. So I have the pleasure every single day of waking up in the beautiful city of Gary and going to work and fighting for people's rights every single day. If they feel they've been discriminated against, it doesn't matter if it's race, sex, disability. There's so many other things, but our agency strives to protect them. They come to us, we investigate their charge for free, and hopefully we get results for them.
And
So
I understand that you were instrumental in getting ordinance passed to protect the rights of LGBTQ plus community members.
it is one of the milestones of my career at the Gary Human Relations Commission. And I say that because I was invited to work with Councilwoman Rebecca Wyatt and individuals in the law department to spearhead this legislation. This is before the Biden administration. I don't know if you're aware, but the Biden administration has really been working hard for the LGBTQ plus community and individuals with his executive order. But this ordinance that we were working on came before that. So we were already fighting and trying to protect individuals who identify with the LGBTQ plus community. And it was my pleasure to help with that process. It's one of the milestones of my career, something I'll never forget. Very proud of it. Very
Oh,
proud.
that's excellent.
There's so
That's
much
excellent.
more work that needs to be done. But
There absolutely is. So I would love to hear from you about, particular issues. For example, reproductive health services. Tell me where you stand on that issue or
yeah,
that very large issue.
yes, so as it relates to reproductive rights and women's rights, let me just say I'm 110%. If we could go up to 1,000%. An advocate for women's rights and as it relates to reproductive rights and so much more. You want to talk about equal pay for equal work. Where do I begin? Where do I end? I'm 100% in support of Roe versus Wade, and individuals, people, Hoosier women can count on me to be a voice for upholding the rights of women as it relates to that. And I think what we have now and what we have to continually keep our eyes on is governors and states who continue to introduce legislation that is so contrary to Roe versus Wade that it is just simply unbelievable. The fight remains because we have governors like the one from Arkansas who just, says, well, we don't want to allow that under any, we don't want to allow abortion under any circumstances. This is clearly a violation of Roe versus Wade.
Well, and
So,
now we see, that particular statute that governor signed into law, was intentionally produced. They know it's not constitutional, but it's intended to go to the Supreme Court in the hopes that it will result in Roe v. Wade being overturned. And in that situation, of course, what we will need is federal legislation
yes.
that guarantees women's rights to make their own personal medical decisions.
Exactly.
And so I guess I'm hopeful that you will be there to help get that sort of legislation passed on a federal level. Because of course, if Roe v. Wade is overturned, it will be up to each state to decide. And that's just that
Absolutely.
in a state like ours, forget it.
Yeah, and it goes back to what our Vice President Kamala Harris said in an interview. I don't know if you're aware, but she said, just give me one law. Just give me one law for the male genitalia. Just one, and and she says, I rest my case, and it's so we've got to continually put people in office and have legislators who we know are going to protect both women's rights and reproductive rights, and you can count on me to do that. There's no way I'm going to disrupt the history and the strides that we have made as women in this country. We have fought for everything that we have. We've had to advance our own cause. And so I will only continue that fight, which is a fight to be continued.
So also, and I want to point out too that, no one's ever going to get that out of Todd Young. He is never going to support that
no,
sort of legislation.
Not someone who's been endorsed by Richard Murdoch.
Right.
Previous United States Senator.
Right. Yeah, we cannot count on him to do anything like that. We certainly cannot count on him to vote to increase minimum wage or for other worker protection issues. So tell us more about your platform. Where do you stand on, reasonable and responsible gun ownership?
Yeah, absolutely. So again, my platform is civil rights, quality education for all, and livable wages, but I'm also concerned about gun control. I just made a social media post not too long ago, Deb, where I talked in detail about my frustration with the fact that we have two United States senators who don't even give their condolences anymore as it relates to the gun violence that continues to escalate in this country. I think as of March, we're at over 100 mass shootings in America. 5 of those came from Indiana. And a lot of people don't know that, but we did have 5 mass shootings. And I think there was just another one the other day in Virginia. Listen, we have got to stop this nonsense. And if you or any of the listeners want to, you can visit my website, haneefahkhaliq.org, and you can visit my policy and agenda on guns. I've got 33 national policies and agendas, if you can believe it, that I'm ready to implement. And I'm telling people what my plan is going to be. So the first thing we need to do is we need to get rid of the ability to have assault rifles. There's no reason why the average American should be carrying around a high capacity guns. What for? You have no reason to. They just stated this recent mass shooting that happened at the King Supers, the supermarket shooting, that the individual had purchased one of these guns. Now, I think it's yet to be revealed if he was actually using that particular gun, but come on, you have to guess. And I mean, if you can see the damage that was done, that's not something that a pistol does. It's a high capacity magazine that's been used. And so it's just sad that we can't even get legislation for that. We can't get legislation for universal background checks. This same individual, had the background was clear, but I believe the background was clear, but there was speculation by friends and family that, the guy, something was up with the guy. Okay. He was angry. He was making posts about, being a victim of being racism. He was angry about certain things. Okay. So all of these things, we have to make sure that we have mental checks and things like that in place so that guns are kept out of the hands of potentially dangerous people. Let's see, what else? So you've got the straw gun purchases that continue to happen. You've got the loopholes at gun shows that continue to happen. And why is it that just about every single device gets an upgrade around here except for guns? I think we're going into a time period in our country where we need more than just a finger to be able to pull a trigger. They don't, and I understand safety mechanisms being put on, but I think we're at a point where we've got to work with gun manufacturers to make sure that more safety measures are put in place to make sure that these things don't just get to go off when, someone pulls a trigger. So a combination of all of those things, making sure that people can't purchase guns when they're in the comfort of their own home just from the internet. What about the safety measures put in place and security measures put in place to make sure we don't get people just, purchasing guns from off the internet? These types of things need to be looked into. There need to be incentives for people turning in guns. We want to get as many of these things removed off of our streets as possible. And the opposite seems to be happening whenever we have a mass shooting. People go out and they buy more guns because they're worried about, oh, here comes the issue again. So what we've been seeing is a revolving cycle of the same thing here: mass shooting, prayers, condolences, congressmen and women, talking about how we need legislation, and then poof, gone. And then it happens all over again: mass shooting, prayers, condolences, talk about legislation, poof, gone again. And it's just a circle, 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 circle. And so what we need is, individuals who can continue to, like me, continue to stress the importance of this and continue to create and co-sponsor and support legislation that brings it to an end.
Yeah, I will say, on that topic, here in Indiana at the state legislative level, like you say, it's going backwards. There's
Yes,
legislation that is threatening to be
gun
passed,
permits.
right, to get rid of all gun permits. And even the police now are finally, stepping up and saying, well, now wait a minute. How will we know when we come upon someone with a gun, if no one has to have a permit, you don't know who's gone through the background check. You don't know anything. So, and then also I want to point out, the Violence Against Women Act, that's still kind of hanging around. The Congress passed it, and our own Congresswoman Victoria Spartz
Lorski.
voted against it, as did all the Republican, Congress people
Unbelievable.
from Indiana, because it includes this other, loophole that the Democrats wanted to close, which was that you could go after a man who committed domestic violence against a woman, and only if and keep them on the on the red, some kind of notice where you could take away their guns, but only if they're the husband. And I
Oh,
mean, and it was just the week before, our Republican Congress people voted against it, that a woman in Indianapolis and her family were shot and killed by
yeah,
an ex-boyfriend.
I'm aware of that.
Yeah,
Yes.
so it is just shocking that someone in this day and age would say, oh no, only if you are married, are you going to be regulated for violence against your domestic partner. So anyway, very shocking. So, and I do want to note too that I have been to your website, and you have a very extensive list of positions on a plethora of issues. And so I really appreciate that. I think that is wonderful that you have that out there. It's just very transparent, and everyone can see exactly where you stand on many, many issues. So, so
Yes,
tell me
thank
more about
you.
your platform. What what are the priorities for you?
Yeah, so one of the things that I really would like to concentrate on is livable wages. We're living in a country now where we are seeing just a very, coupled with the pandemic, we are seeing people who are just, they're at their wits' end. And it starts with their take home pay. Um, I was talking with a Republican the other day who's also a business owner, who was opposed to the $15 minimum wage increase. Part of my campaign strategy is to talk with Democrats, but also to reach across the aisle, because this is what I promised to do as a legislator. I promised to listen to what my Republican friends and colleagues have to say as well. I can't say that I'm going to agree with them on everything, but I will listen. I will listen and I will respond. My response to him was really just to listen to the what was going on inside of his head and why he thought that the $15 minimum wage was absurd. One of the things he said to me was, listen, if I raise my minimum wage, if it's raised to $15, I have no choice but to raise the cost of my products. And I said, well, I don't think you're going to have to do that because when you raise the minimum wage of your workers, that's going to result in the increase of their productivity, and they're going to work better. They're going to want to work longer, and that's going to help you out as a business owner. And the fact that you are probably more than likely, like Bernie Sanders had mentioned some time ago, that more than likely you're bringing in 700 to 1,000% of what your workers are bringing in. And I don't think that's fair. I think $15 an hour is a start, certainly not a finish, but I'm going to be advocating for livable wages, which I think should be dependent on the income of what some of these employers, businesses, and companies are bringing in. I don't call having to take a break on your summer vacations or your vacations, here and there. Maybe you have to take 5 instead of 10. I don't call that, being that much of a sacrifice when it comes to keeping a happy workforce. And that's what these individuals have to understand, is that a happy employee contributes to your business more than anything else. So let's get these folks a $15 minimum wage. Let's get them livable wages. Let's work on that and get them some take-home pay that they can be proud of. And that's a continuous stimulus package, I think, right there, right?
Yeah, that's great. And I think, we can really look to some of the larger corporations like Costco, who have voluntarily, increased the
yes.
wages up to, I think, $16 per hour starting wage for everyone that works at Costco. Because, there's nothing wrong with it. People can do it. And I suppose, small businesses, can, maybe look for some kind of a phased in increase that would support them, in the first beginnings of a small business. But certainly most people who work for large companies, really, there's no excuse for not increasing those wages.
Yes.
So, okay, great. And now tell us about your campaign. What is going on? Are you having events? What's your plan? What's your plan to beat Todd Young is really
I
question.
better have events. I better have them continually going on. And so it's just one set right after another. And so the series of events that I'm having right now, they are called Hoosier Hours with Haneefah. And they're special Zoom hours that I am offering for all of the 9 congressional districts, Hoosiers who are living in all of the 9 congressional districts, and inviting them to come and talk with me for an hour. So what I usually do is give my introduction of where I'm from, what my platform is, and why, I'm running. And then I allow questions from anyone who's in attendance. Their video doesn't have to be on if they're not comfortable with that. And these meetings are not recorded or published. So that kind of puts a lot of Hoosiers at ease, about being on camera. Not everyone is comfortable with everything, being published. So I'm hoping that puts Hoosiers at ease to talk and have conversation with me. And, upon my election, I hope to continue to have these Hoosier Hours with Haneefah. And the reason is because certainly it's impossible for me to know as much as 6.7 plus million of Hoosiers. And there's so much knowledge and education and experience that come with you. I've got to find time to listen. I've got to find time to listen. So.
Good. And I do want to mention, Senate S1, the For the People Act, because that really is going to play a big part in the success of candidates like you, who are not, who live in supermajority red states, and where the district lines are going to be redrawn by, the Republicans and majority, and are going to make it more and more difficult for people, you women, people of color, people who are, are not in the party of majority to even have a chance. So, so I'm really looking forward to that getting passed, and I hope you talk about it a lot, because we really need this. We really need this federal legislation to protect our democracy.
Let me tell you, when I read the details of the For the People Act, I'm just smiling from ear to ear because it covers literally everything about, our voting and access to voting and all the wonderful things that are in it. It is just a piece of legislation that has come forth that is just superb, and I support it 110%. Wish I was in the United States Senate to show my support for it, of course, after having engaged with Hoosiers. But these two United States senators, and I have to stress this, Deb, that these guys are not going to support the For the People Act. They're just simply not. And what they fail to realize is they're so busy thinking that it's going to annihilate them that they forget that there are many people who are also in their part who will benefit from having the For the People Act as well, who don't have access to voting and need voting rights as well. So that's their mistake. A lot of times I feel like there is a lot of overgeneralization, a lot of assumptions that, oh, this is only going to help this certain group of people, and so we've got to do everything we can to keep them out. Oh, this is going to lead to fraud. No, it's not. No, it's not. It's just kind of like with the American Rescue Plan. Oh, it's too much money. There's too much stuff in there that people don't need, and there's a lot of fat and pork that we need to trim from it, and this and that and the other, and they fail to realize the countless millions that are in their own party that were beneficiaries of this money. And even our own Indiana legislature received the money. They didn't give it back. Now they're fighting about how to spend it. Can you imagine?
That's right. Yeah.
It just doesn't make sense to me. It's like the point of government is to provide for the social welfare of its people. If the government is not, listen, I've been to places where the government is not providing for the social welfare of its citizens. It's not pretty, Deb. I've been where there's no social security for the senior citizens or the differently able. I just made a post about this the other day, talking about, in fact, today, I think my team put that out, is, we've got to make sure that we have these social service programs running in a robust way so that our citizens have exactly what they need, not just Hoosiers, the American people as a whole. And these guys, I don't know, to me, their actions look like, I don't think they're thinking about the American people. I think they're just thinking about, I don't know, maybe themselves or maybe their own families or what have you. These guys can't make decisions for Americans as a whole. They can't be trusted to do that.
Well, in fact, the For the People Act will do a lot to uncover motivations of these senators, because it will do a lot to uncover who is donating millions, of dollars to their campaigns. So that is another good reason to get that piece of legislation passed. So, all right, we're almost out of time, but I do want to ask you to tell us, how people can find you. Where can they find you online, etc.?
Absolutely, Deb. Well, one of the things that I'm running on is a platform of constant communication and dialogue. In fact, I probably receive about 50, maybe between 30 and 50 texts a day from Hoosiers, and I try my best to respond to them all. The 317-999-5592 number routes to my personal phone. And so I get messages, I get phone calls, and I respond as quickly as I can. And so people can always reach out to me. And this is the same number that's posted everywhere, just about. You can reach me through there, or you can also go to my website, haneefahkhaliq.org, and send me a message as well. Some are not too comfortable with the direct and immediate communication. They'd rather write out what they want to say. And so when you send over your email, a member of my team takes a look at that, and that gets forwarded to me, and I do my best to respond. And then some days I look at the emails that come in, and I personally respond myself, to what I see coming in. And so I've got my days where I allot to Hoosiers and responding to messages and phone calls directly, because I think, like I said, we've been deprived of that for far too long. I don't think you should have to fly all the way to Washington to meet with your legislator. And I don't think you should have to be a part of a targeted audience or VIP when you're wanting to meet and talk with your legislator. It's outrageous that those are the examples that we've seen. That's not how it's supposed to be.
Right.
And if they can't put in twice the work and twice the energy, then they need to get out of there twice as fast and let somebody in who's saying that they can do it. And I know that I can do it.
Great. And I'm sure you're on social media as well. What is your
Oh.
handle on social media?
Absolutely. So if you take a look, if you look up Khaaliq for Senate, you should find me. But if you go to any search engine and you just type in Haneefah Khaaliq, all my stuff will come up. Or if you go to my website, you'll see all the links to my social media at the bottom. I've got a YouTube channel, Facebook. I'm on Twitter. I'm even on TikTok. If you can believe that. I'm trying. It's kind of, a little bit difficult to navigate through for my old eyes, I think, but I am trying. And then I'm also on Instagram, Snapchat, all of them, just trying to make sure that I'm utilizing all the social media to my advantage as much as possible. When you're a grassroots candidate, you've got to use every single source, that's possible. So.
That's right. That's right. All right. Well, great. And so thank you so much for joining me and talking. I'm just so happy to meet you and hear all about you. So again, I'm just going to spell your name because it's not intuitive. So Haneefah Khaaliq. So it's Haneeefah, Khaaliq, Khaliq. So for those who, can't grasp it. So if you're looking her up, there's the spelling. So, all right, great. Terrific to meet you. And hopefully we will get to do this again. I look forward to seeing you on the campaign trail.
Absolutely, Deb. I'll be around. Just hit me up anytime.
All right.